Hey everyone, this is Sharon and Jamie from Sharonatsea.
What's up everybody, and today we got kind of a special Fall 5 installment for you. We're going to be talking about something that is pretty important to the new cruisers out there. Sometimes that first cruise can be a little intimidating, overwhelming, or downright scary. So we want to lay 5 tips on you for first-time cruisers that are things you might not have thought about and that will hopefully make your cruise experience a great one.
All right, first we're going to talk a little bit about identification. All right, when you get on the cruise ship, you will of course need your identification, your birth certificate, your driver's license, or some may be cruising with a passport. So either way you go, you'll have your ID on the ship, but I want to talk a little bit about what you need to get off the ship in ports. That's what we're kind of talking about right now. So getting off, you are going to have to take your ship card, which is a card that they give you when you board the ship, and you use that as your room key. Also, you use that for any purchases you make on the ship. But it's a card you're going to want to keep in your hand at all times on the ship, because that card is how you do everything on the ship, basically. So anyways, you are going to need that to get off the ship. They will swipe it as you get off the ship. They will also swipe it again as you get back on the ship. So you'll need that. Also, I would take your driver's license off into port with you as well. Some ports require it, some just require the ship card to get back on, but just to be safe, it's always a good idea to take your ID off with you.
Yeah, they'll let you know if your license is required, but definitely have it.
Yeah, and you might need it for some other reason, say they decide to card you when you're getting a drink, which isn't probably going to happen, but hey, you never know. But also, I do not recommend, some people will take their passports off. I do not recommend you take your passport off into port unless it is a port such as Canada or maybe Europe somewhere that it is required to take off. I would say leave it on the ship, locked up. Just take your driver's license or state ID with you. Another thing is, if you really want your passport, make a copy. Make a copy of it before you leave and just take the copy off the ship with you. Or another tip I can give you is, one thing I have done is I have a copy, a picture, and I emailed it to myself. So it's in my email at all times. So if I ever need to pull it up on my phone, because I'll have my phone in port, I can pull it up that way as well. So that's another little tip if you're worried about having or not having, your passport. But you're perfectly fine getting off with your ship card as well as your photo ID. But those are the 2 things you need to bring off the ship when you get off in port.
All right, so next thing we want to cover is, how do you know what to do, where to go, and what's going on around the ship once you get on there? It can be a little overwhelming. You've done all this planning for your excursions and everything, but now you're on the ship, and what do? Well, usually when you get to your cabin, there's going to be some kind of a pamphlet or some paperwork that'll be an activity schedule. And take a look through that. Bring a highlighter with you if you can remember to do that, and read through all the different activities and things that are going on the ship. Highlight the ones that you want to go to. There may be a talk about introducing your cruise director and talk about what's going on around the ship. There can be things that little talks that talk about what to do when you're in port. And these can be good for a brand new cruiser to go to figure things out. Yeah, obviously, if you've been a few times, you're probably not going to go through that. You've already been down that road. But check your activity paperwork and find out what you want to be involved in. Maybe there's a wine tasting going on. Maybe there's something else, bingo, that you really want to get into. And you can also find out about specials and things like that are going on the first night as well. For instance, if you're on a cruise, and if you're on a Carnival cruise and you want to book a dinner in the steakhouse, on the first night you get a free bottle of wine. That information is probably going to be in the activity guide, and it'll let you know, otherwise you wouldn't have known that. So there can be some little things to take advantage of.
Yeah.
Spa, like a free tour of the spa, different things of that nature.
Sometimes they have spa specials too.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to get a massage or a treatment, check that out. And also on port days, there's specials as well. So you want to check your activity schedule for that, because those are when you can get
Sure. So as a new cruiser, use that activity schedule as your daily Bible, so to speak, and mark off the things you want to be at, and make sure you keep an eye on the time and make sure you're there. And that way you can weed out things you're not interested in, and just make sure you're involved in the things that you're excited about seeing.
All right. Here's another just quick tip. All right. Bring cash for the ship and getting off in the ports. Bring a lot of small bills, 1s and 5s, maybe some 10s, but bring a lot of 1s. We usually bring like a thing of 50 to 100 1s because they're great for tipping. If you get room service, you want to leave $1 or $2 out for them as a tip when they bring your room service to your
Sure,
cabin.
the porters, when they take your luggage,
Yeah,
when you get to the port, all kinds of stuff.
And when you get off the ship, you know, there's a lot of things. Maybe you're taking a cab or you want a beach chair, and sometimes you maybe give someone a tip that brings you a chair. There's just so many reasons to have a lot of ones just for tipping. So
Yes.
I highly suggest you bring cash and bring a lot of small bills with you, basically for tipping.
And that's a great point. When you talk about bringing small bills, you know, when you go into a lot of these areas and these tourist areas, they're living day by day from the tips and the money that they bring in. And we've had a lot of great experiences if we've thrown a few extra dollars around when we got somewhere, and they could see that we were open to tipping for good service. You know, when you get into a resort or a restaurant or something like that, maybe you're on the beach or whatever, and if you throw a few dollars at somebody who brings you an umbrella or a chair, they're gonna know that they have the best chance to take care of you and make a few extra bucks, because they're living and dying by the money that they bring in that day when you're in port. So we found that by throwing a few extra dollars out there, it really can increase the quality of the attention and the service that you get at that particular place you're at. So don't be afraid, throw a few bucks around, it'll really go a long way.
It will. They really depend on the tourist. That is their main source of living. So.
Sure. All right, guys, so here's another tip, and not too many people think about this. Camouflage apparel. Camo apparel here in the States is very popular. There are many different lines of name brand clothing that comes in different types of camo and things like that, and people wear it all over the place. But when you go to a lot of these ports in the Caribbean and Mexico, the camouflage is looked at as part of the military apparel that they wear. And a lot of times the military will have the same presence as what we might know as local police. You might get off the cruise ship and notice a military presence, and I'm talking like military, guns over their shoulders, that type of deal going on in these areas.
Yeah, it can almost kind of be a little scary to a new cruiser, but it's actually, they're there for protection and not to worry.
So in a lot of these places, they frown on locals or civilians wearing camouflage apparel because it closely relates military or police style clothing out there, and even in some places it's prohibited by the local government. And so we would highly recommend, although you really want to wear that awesome new camo mossy oak patterned outfit that you got or something like that, leave the camo at home. We can wear it on the ship, that's totally cool, but when you get off in port, don't wear any camo, and leave that on the ship, and it's just one less thing to worry about with any of the local military or federals or any of that kind of stuff.
All right, we're going to talk a little bit about Wi-Fi. Okay, you can purchase a Wi-Fi package on the ship. It'll cost you a few dollars, and it probably won't be the best Wi-Fi. But you can wait until you get into port and get off and go to some of the local areas where there's free Wi-Fi and use their Wi-Fi, and you'll probably get a, you know, it may be a little spotty at times, but it will be much better than the ship Wi-Fi usually. Now, where do you get this Wi-Fi off the ship? Most people don't know where to go. The best thing to do is to ask the crew members on board. They all know where the free Wi-Fi is in all the ports, because when it's their day to get off the ship, you will see them all heading to one of the little local restaurants, bars, or areas where there is free Wi-Fi, because that's how they communicate to their family and friends at home. So that is where they go, and they know all the hot spots for that. So just ask the crew member, and they're always glad to help out and let you know where to find that free Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and usually it'll be fairly secure. Now, I wouldn't be doing major financial transactions on my phone using the Wi-Fi at the local restaurant, but log in, use it, log out properly, and you ought to be good to go.
That's right.
All right, so you know this is supposed to be kind of our top 5 tips, but we're going to throw in one more because this one's pretty important.
Got 6
and
today.
For a little sixer. And for folks who haven't cruised before, this can be pretty important. You may or may not know, but most of the cabins you go on these cruises really only have one main power outlet, and it's kind of in a general place, maybe next to a mirror or a dresser in the cabin or something like that. And these days, everyone has so many things that you're looking to charge. Multiple phones, your camera, your video cameras, your GoPros, maybe you have something for music. Maybe you have something like a CPAP device and you need power for that as well, and you want to be able to have multiple things plugged in. So what we usually bring is a little unit right here, and this you can plug in multiple USBs as well as 2 main plugs, and we can charge up numerous devices at once and have everything good to go when we want it for the morning. We can leave things charging overnight, and something like that is totally allowed in the cabins. Now, the cruise ships will frown on certain older power strip type devices, and if it has a surge protector, that kind of concerns them, because they don't want any power kicking back and causing any issues on the ship or anything.
Yeah, they will confiscate it if it has a surge protector.
So definitely safety first, but something like the device that you just saw there, multiple times I've taken that right in my carry-on, had it scanned getting on the ship, and never had a problem with it. And we do it that way because there's a lot of different plugs and things you can get, but by having the small short plug that'll plug right in with the cable, it makes sure that no matter how the plug is fixed, you're going to be able to plug into it quickly. Some devices have a flat piece on it with the plug, and that can be a little difficult to plug in.
Yeah, we've had some in the past where the like plug area will pop out from this part, and you can put this in the wall where this sticks out. And those work on some ships, but they don't work on all ships because depending on where the plugs sit here, it could be here or here, and sometimes it just doesn't fit in that little area where you can plug it in. There's something sticking out that it just doesn't work.
Now usually where you find the plug, there will be 2 outlets. One will be the standard US 3-prong outlet, and then you'll also have a European 2-prong outlet. Now if you're lucky enough to have an extra of one of those European ones, that can help you out a little bit, and I've had that happen on some of the electronics that I've ordered where it comes from Europe, and you might have both types of plugs, adapters that'll come with it. But otherwise, make sure you bring a little something extra to plug in all your goodies. That way you're all charged up, whether it's for using on the ship, whether it's to just make sure it's all charged when you get off the ship, or anywhere in between. Make sure you bring some kind of a power source to plug in and get yourself all charged up.
Yeah, it'll also prevent a lot of family fights.
Oh, yes.
All fighting over the same plug.
You got that right.
All right. Well, that was our tips for first-time cruisers on just little tips.
Yeah, just hopefully a couple things you don't hear all the time, and that gives you a few less things to think about or worry about when you go on your first cruise. Have a blast, and from us to you, happy cruising.